Good morning and welcome to day 2 of our Road to the Sale training class. Yesterday we worked on meeting and greeting. I think everyone did a really nice job in that, especially in our role plan. Today we're going to move on to a step that a lot of people feel this is probably the most important step of automobile selling, and that's building rapport. I want you to think about one thing. When a customer comes in, before they come in, what do you think words that they use to describe an automobile salesperson? I hear liar in the back, I hear cheater, I hear robber and things like that, and a couple things I really can't repeat. But you know, when people come in with that, do you think they're really comfortable or uncomfortable when they come in? I agree with you. A lot of times people are very uncomfortable. So it's our job as salespeople to make them more comfortable with us. Because they already know about the automobile. They need to be comfortable with us. We're the ones who are going to make the difference with them. So what we want to do is turn that liar cheater thing into something where people like and trust us. I want you to think about one thing. If one of your relatives or good friends come in and buy a car from you, is it easier or more difficult to sell them a vehicle? I agree with you. It's a lot easier. Why do you think that is? I agree with you again. It's because they know who you are and they're comfortable when they're walking in. You don't have to overcome that initial thing of building rapport and getting to know someone. So what I want you to think about is how do we get people to know and like us? And we're going to use the step of building rapport. Former is going to be 5 things that we can talk to people about to get it turned around from them being uncomfortable with us to more comfortable. So think about this. If you invite someone to your house, what's the first thing you're going to do when someone comes in? I agree with you. That's right. Offer them someplace to sit down and offer them something to drink. So if we can, after we meet and greet the customer, find out what type of vehicle they're interested in. If we can bring them back to our office and sit them down, the first thing we want to do is make sure they're comfortable. It's very hot out in Texas. Say it's going to be 105 degrees out here. It'd be nice to give them something cool to drink. So you give them something cool to drink and they start relaxing a little bit. And then we start talking to them. Just friendly conversation, not shooting questions at them like an interrogation, but just some friendly conversation. Some of the things that people like to talk about, we use the acronym FORMA, is number 1, family. Most people are willing and really like talking about their family. I know I'm a brand new grandfather. If you want to hear something that's very boring to you but exciting to me, ask me. We can talk about my grandchild the whole day. But you know what? So when people talk about their family, they like that. And most people are very proud of their family. So when you get them to start talking about things like that, they relax a little bit. And especially if you can share stories back. Like if someone comes in and says, hey, I have a grandchild. I say, well, I have my first grandchild. It's really great. But don't make sure the conversation doesn't turn about you. Make sure it's more about the customer. Let them talk and open up a little bit. Besides family, the next thing we can talk about is occupation or what they do for a living. Most people are really proud of what they do for a living, especially if they have a nice job. And so you might want to ask them things like, again, ask them open-ended questions where they have to explain things, not yes or no questions. So really, tell me a little bit about the type of job you have. That's really interesting. Tell me a little bit more about that. And at these particular things, if you want people really to talk more and more, I like to use something called the Grease, the movie Grease. I know it's old for a lot of people here. But there's a song in there, it's one of my favorite songs, there's a part in it that says, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. And so when you're talking about someone, say, that's really interesting, tell me a little bit more about that. And then they open up and tell you a little bit more, and it shows that you have interest in who they are. And again, you share some things back, but don't make the conversation about ourselves. One thing that salespeople, we have a tendency to do is we want to make the story all about us, and it's not. It's really all about the customer at this time. The next thing after occupation we want to talk about is going to be recreation, what people do in their free time. How many people in here play golf? Not very many, but I do. And I tell you what, I really enjoy talking about golf. So when I talk to someone, I can talk about every shot we do, every single hole over and over again. And you know what? If people aren't interested in golf, it has no interest in them. But if people are, it makes a difference. They love talking about it. So you have them talk about things, have them open up and talk about things that they like to do in their free time. One of the ways you can do it is say, you know, you said your job was really stressful, right? But you know, my job's pretty stressful too. Would you mind sharing with me, what do you do in your free time that helps you relax a little bit? And then they can tell you some things, and then they open up and talk about what they do in their free time. And then again, ask them more questions. Really, I've never done that before. Does that really help? I'm going to have to learn about those things. And again, that shows interest in who they are. The next one after that is going to be motivation. And motivation is why someone is in the market for an automobile today. Think about that. There's 2 types of buyers out there. There's either a need buyer or a want buyer. An example of a need buyer would be someone, well, my child just totaled my car and I have to get a new car. And think about that. Is that person really happy about buying a car right now? He or she didn't expect to have another car note or something like that, but they're out having to buy a car, get a new car note. So they're probably not as happy. And then you have the one buyer, and this is a guy, say he just got a big raise at work, and he wants to buy a Ferrari. Do you think he's pretty excited? He wants that. So it's a totally different type of buyer right there. So what motivated them to get back into the market? And again, a need and a want buyer is something that can be totally different. Because one, they might not be happy, need, they could be very excited about this. A little bit easier to sell someone who's a need buyer. And the last thing we want to talk about is the area. A is the area. What part of the city do they live in? If someone lives right around the corner from us, what do you think that means? Well, it means that one thing you're right about, this would be their first opportunity. We're probably the first dealership that they shopped at. But if someone lives across town, 30 miles away, they might have shopped 10 or 12 other stores that came before they came to you. So one or two things happen. Either they're looking for maybe the cheapest price, or they ran into a bunch of salespeople who didn't have any interest in them or who they are. And again, think about this. If people come in and are very untrusting of automobile salespeople, it's our job to build rapport, get to know them, get to them to like us and trust us. And that is the first thing that we can do to get them to start saying, yes, I want to do business with this person and this person alone. And we will go into this a whole lot more. That's just a brief synopsis of what we're going to do the rest of the day. Thanks for your input.